around 20, like 19, 20 is when they were bubbling up. And then I remember asking my brother, who again is the straight and narrow financial guy, I was like, bro, do you ever think about living differently? This is a weird world.
I can barely
I might have to refute that.
Which, exactly what I was saying. That's Earl would not.
So sometimes you need it. Yeah, I mean, I do get this. I do feel like, thank you for being here. I do feel like if you want to get a point across, there was a point in time, I will tell you this. Actually, you actually brought up a really good point. There was a point in time where I did want to be, it seemed like I did want to be much wordier than I had to be. Like, it was like sometimes I would be trying to discuss something and it would be overkill, but sometimes because ideas are extremely complex, I'm like trying to hit all the different layers. So sometimes there's a lot of fucking words. Then I read this book, The Art of Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie, and there was a point in it where it was just, and that book is beautifully written. It doesn't even seem like it was written by like a regular writer. It seems like that person was just like a sage, or they were like a team of sages that like wrote this golden book. And they just talked about words are great. Getting a great grand vocabulary is fantastic. Etymology, interesting. That's fantastic. But the point of communication is to get the point across. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, to you and Anthony Stokes' favor in this, yeah, like I get it. Sometimes you just want a grilled cheese. Like sometimes you just, like you're just trying to get straight to the point. And I get that. I think there's definitely an art to very short, pithy, concise, like heavy hitters.
And I think, there's how we're talking about it in this situation where you can be very wordy. But then there's also different situations. Like I think about if I talk with my dad, I'll ask him a question, just a basic question, but I'm going to get the whole history behind how we got there. And my mom and I will just look at each other like, here we go. So sometimes I have to kind of prime him and be like, Dad, I'm going to ask you a question, but I don't need the full history behind it. It could be a simple question of, how was the girl? Well, that would be a history one. I don't know, just why are we flying this flag today? Or what time is it? What's the temperature? What is this device? And it'd be like a temperature gauge or something. Well, it goes back to the 1800s. And when you had, John Smith who did this thing, and then here we go, we got this invention. It leads, I don't need all that.
Oh, that's funny. You really just want the answer.
I just want to know what it is. For certain things. It's something simple where I just want the answer. I just don't need the whole history lesson. Because it could be something that has nothing to do with history. It's just, why are you wearing this shirt today? Well, in the factory it was made this. I don't need all that.
I got you. Okay. And so that's what's funny is like, I would like that.
I'm sure you would.
Like I would like to, because almost when someone says something like, what is that? And this is the weirdness in my mind is yes, it is whatever that thing is. It's a sweater. It's a whatever the thing is that you're asking. And then there's from what source was it manifested, which is another way of asking, like, what is that?
Right.
So this is where I go, well, let me tell you, like, what this is. Like, this kind of comes from, and then that's where the whole rigmarole goes. So that's so funny that that makes a lot of sense. But I also, again, just understand the grilled cheese part of it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just always trying to like stick my face into something as closely as I can. So we got here because you asked me how I was doing.
Yes. Which, as you could just from that question alone, and we've made it to all of this, which has been on the mic and off the mic. There's been a lot. There's been a big domino effect, a big snowball effect, and how we got here.
That's how it goes.
So even though it wasn't a straightforward answer, we still got this whole process.
And now we're gonna go back to it because I still didn't really get to tell you.
Right, you didn't.
And so just for a little backstory, the point being, well, the reason why we had stopped talking about it and started just now is because I wanted to give it a second to breathe, because one, I just told you what I told someone else when they asked me that question, which was mostly, I was just thinking about just giving you the regular answer of good, but actually I think it's phenomenal past a certain degree where maybe I get shaky on my confidence of being able to actually express it. But then I say, well, no, actually, let me backstep that. I can actually express this in length. It's just that you wouldn't know words don't necessarily do all the feelings justice. Sometimes we take away from what is happening by using words to describe it. Right. And that's pretty fucking deep because that's all we got to try to, talk to one another. So to the best of my knowledge, I do pretty well with describing it, but ultimately I say that there was so many years of my life where you could not have gotten me to envision the space of mind that I'm in now. There was just no shot of me being able to see where I'd be and who I'd be. No fucking way. So that's one thing that is great, because the trajectory was the way up, not down. And it seems like, as I say, things just kind of show you're just on a good path, like you just find so much more gratitude in things. And I talk about it on here every now and again, is that there have been things that would watching yourself become a far noticeably more pleasant human being walking the earth is a very, very cool thing to watch happen. In seeing things that once not only did you just not care for, but that you really did not like, morphing into something that you actually do like, not get perturbed by, but actually like. And so I told one on here, which was me sitting in a sauna and then people coming in there and playing loud music or talking to one another in a sauna. Just coming in there. Sometimes there's some really funny things. Playing music, talking to your friends really loud about some chick that had a fat ass upstairs on the squat rack, or just coming in and flipping on the lights just to stand there. There's already light in there. Right. It's not just a dark room.
It's the ambiance kind of light, you just...
Motherfuckers just come in there and just flip the light on.
I wish I was surprised that these were things.
Right. But one, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this person's afraid of the dark and I don't know it. I don't know.
You should know.
Because I'm thinking why the fuck are you flipping the light switch on? You're not fitting to read a book in here. You we're just gonna sit down and sweat. What are you trying to see? Ain't nobody gonna hurt you in here.
Their book, their laptop, they're ready. They're
ain't nobody gonna hurt you in here. You are fine. Relax. Flipping on the light. Now, again, that for whatever reason makes that person more comfortable. For whatever the reason is, I don't know what it is. I'm just fucking around, but I don't know what it is, but it makes them more comfortable. We do know that, which is why they're doing it. Me knowing that someone walked in here and did what they had to do to make themselves more comfortable, framed that way, makes me happy. I'm like, okay, listen, I'm still going to do my thing in here. And the place that I come from with most of these is that we take peace for granted. like peace amongst people, right? Because there's a very thin veneer between like our civility and going back to just like primal ways. Like technology goes away. Like if technology all shut down one day and another pandemic hit, people
It'd be chaos. It's done.
It'd be chaos.
Yeah.
We'd be in the streets acting like apes, going absolute crazy. Like that's a very thin veneer. It's not even like a real thing.
Right. I have a comment about the sauna.
Go ahead.
On the contrary, because you're saying how, okay, that makes them happy. Maybe that is just what they need for this kind of situation. And that is a good way of looking at it. That is looking at it from the other perspective. That could be the case. My first thought initially goes to that annoys me. All of those things are immediately annoying because now that is destroying my peace. What if, I've only been in a sauna a few times, but I feel like the norm is that you have those dim lights. It's quiet, you're calm. Maybe if you're in there with somebody else and there's like really quiet small talk, it's brief, and then you're just sitting there. You're just being, peaceful, quiet. I feel like that's a normal sauna experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So if somebody else comes in and they're flipping the lights on without saying anything. If you need the lights on, at least just give me a heads up. Like, hey, do you mind? You don't even have to go into all. Just ask me if I mind. Yeah. Maybe it's a yes, maybe it's a no. If it's a yes, I'll just leave. I've already been in here. I'll step out. If you're coming in playing your music, you're chit-chatting about the females upstairs,
for sure,
you're destroying my peace.
Yeah, okay.
And that I have a problem with. And that I'm not okay with. You might be happy, but I'm not. So we got to compromise here.
Okay.
So. Okay. So good for you
I
for that perspective?
Right. Yeah, because that's how I feel. Because I'm thinking every time I've run into like issues in life, and I think about how to fix them. A lot of the times, growing up, like they were external issues, and I think I just ran my head into that enough to just think, okay, well, I don't control those, so I'm going to try my very best to get a hold of the one thing that I can control. And so now there is, because I have said that people should probably, or I know that I have and found a lot of benefit from it, a path of least resistance. Now, clearly, there's some times where you're going to need to resist. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Somebody running this house right now, I'm going to have to resist.
Like, no. Oh, you're happy coming in here? Take what you like. They just come grab the mics, grab the light.
Grab you? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
mi casa es su casa.
No, man. Yeah, and it's unfortunate when it gets to those moments.
Right.
But,
I can just see, guys, calm down. He's happy doing it. Let him do it. It's fine.
But to a certain degree, I think that usually for me, until it usually gets to a point of physical contact, I think that most of that other stuff can be ameliorated.
And I think that that's a good skill to kind of, put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think that you obviously do that well. You do that a lot. And including myself need to work on that. Try putting yourself in their shoes and think about why they might be doing what they do. But it's hard. And
for sure.
Especially if it's in a situation like that, or, someone's coming in the house. Like, that's just not a thing. But like I know we've talked before about like driving, how you'll just pull on over. All right, you can ride my ass. Like you just keep on going. Whereas I got road rage.
Shit, I'm not fucking around on them roads. Oh my God. I know someone that was in a car with someone, and I think so there were two cars, from what I understand.
Okay.
I know a guy that was in a car with another guy, and they were driving behind their friend on a road, and there was this, I guess, some big ass like semi truck or something like that, and they got to see this semi truck. I don't know if the guy dozed off or what he did, but he fucking like went over and like, I don't know, fucking crushed the car or tore it up, whatever the fuck happens when a semi truck hits a regular, I don't know, fucking Honda or whatever. So, and
that's terrifying.
The guy in the car with the guy that I know pulled out a gun and started shooting
For what?
At the guy in the truck that had hit his front. Like, he just pulled out the gun and started shooting, and the bullet, I think, like, hit some part, like, in the car and ricocheted back and hit him.
hit the one who was shooting, or your friend?
No, the one that was shooting, was just funny.
Well,
yeah, he was the thug, right?
That's a story. That's like this is real life. This isn't made up. This is Stokes' comics.
Nah, that's real life.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking funny. Yeah, so I don't.
That's
because
odd.
I'm trying to live. That's the thing. I want to live. Like, it's cool. If I go, I go. Like, I'm cool with that too. But as long as I'm here, I want to do this shit.
Right.
I don't got time for none of these niggas out here. They can be as cool as they want to be. They can be as tough as they want to be. They can be all, y'all can have all of that. Right. I don't want no parts of any of that. So, like, nope, go on ahead.
Yeah. And I've gotten better because of that, because you just never know. Like, I see these videos and you just never know. You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Another thing on my list of things that used to irk my nerves, and then now I found appreciation. That's what's so crazy, is like, you can just see things in a whole new light. That's what's so crazy, because I'm still answering the question of how I'm doing, right? this whole conversation is just going to be
by the end of the podcast. So to answer your question, all of that.
Yeah, that's how I'm doing. And when I was growing up, my younger sister, she's like mad younger than me. I can't do math well. I'm 30. I'm 31. She's 21. 10 years.
I can do that.
Hey. Okay, so she's 10 years younger than me. My older brother's 3 years older than me. He was just never, we were very, very, my mom says that we're split between my dad. That I have this artist's mind. Mm-hmm. Completely, and he just has like this go-getter money. He's the suit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, he's the suit and I'm the guy and I'm the dirty hippie, right? Like, that's what okay. That's not what I subscribe to, right? Like, I don't ever put that on myself, but that's kind of the way it looks in the family.
Yeah.
So he was never down to hear any of this shit I'll ever be talking about on any of these episodes. He was never down to have, like, that's not where his mind was at. Mm-hmm. He thought he's just very straight, narrow, like regular thinking type of dude, but he's super smart and super successful. Mm-hmm. And so never cared to have these sort of conversations. Whenever I would start using words, you know, there was always this sense of just like, oh, here goes motherfucker Earl again. Right. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. And then my little sister grew up and she saw my older brother doing that. And then they both have the same sort of mind. They're just regular schmegular ass people. And so.
Well, you are a bit above, you know. Well,
I'm just, it's really just creative. It's not that I know a lot of things. I tell you this all the time. I don't be knowing shit. Like, I don't know things. Mm-hmm. I don't be knowing all sorts of stuff. People tell me things all the time. I'm like, oh shit, really? Like, I don't know things, but I observe things and I think about things. Mm-hmm. And that's really all it is. So I'm just trying to have those sorts of conversations, and they were never about that shit. And they would always make fun of me about it. And then I continued to get older, and this refinement continued, as I've been talking to you about. And my perspective on that changed. I talk to my little sister frequent enough. Her and I have a decent relationship. Mm-hmm. But she knows she can call me and talk to me about stuff. She does not have that with him.
But you guys are closer in age. I know it's still an age gap, but you are closer.
Well, yes. But the point I'm saying is they don't have much between each other, truly.
Okay.
Like, their relationship is kind of hollow. I want them to have them making fun of me so that they have something. And that was not the way I felt about it in the past. Mm-hmm. But now I like for them to have like, oh, we can make fun of Earl. You know, if that breaks ice, or if that brings you all a little bit closer together, you know, and gives you something to just springboard from, or like, you know, bond over.
Right.
Making fun of this brother.
If you want to turn on that light switch, play your music.
Right.
Makes you happy.
I'm just like, oh shit, if you want to make fun of Earl, like, and that brings you all together and gives you something, then do that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very, very interesting just feeling healing happen, and being able to, because I don't really journal throughout the week, so I don't really have ways of tracking it aside from this podcast, right? And the way that I just see it in my head, and I just keep track of the way I'm thinking about stuff, and when new insights sort of happen, I'm like, oh yeah, I was not thinking about this that way 8 months ago. You know what I mean? And just to now be there, it's just great. So, life is really, really good. It's really, really good. I'm enjoying myself a whole lot. You know, beautiful people around me, great conversations all the time, food, clothes, shelter, peace, love, interest, meaning, all that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Anytime I ask you or I check up, you know, I always, of course, I guess, you know, hopefully not, but of course, you know, life happens. There could be some day where it's just like you aren't feeling this. But anytime I ask you, I'm like, I know he's been doing great. You're just always continuing to just grow and thrive. And, you know, on your side of Manassas, I don't have to worry about it. Elsewhere, it's a little bit of a different story. But
it's a momentum thing. I think that at this point, and this is what feels the best, is that I've built up such momentum over, because I'm 31. I really got into this way of thinking about things, like trying to search for something, like right out of high school. You know, I started having some thoughts about things, and like I remember just questioning the smallest, like things to me that now seem super small, but it was the fact that I started asking myself questions. And it would just be things like, I remember I had a girlfriend at the time, and I would be like, why do we have to? Well, to be honest, at this time, I actually had 3 girlfriends because I was an asshole. Okay,
so we're still in the old Earl phase.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is super early on.
We started questioning, but we're still in old Earl.
And
that's wild. 3?
Yeah, I was just too, just doing too much.
That's exhausting. Like 2?
I had so much time on my hands.
3?
I had so much time on my hands.
Were they all like local?
3 different cities, like just like, like in the area. But like there was like Alexandria, Fairfax, and Manassas. It's
so fucking wild. But like Nova is still so, I just feel like everyone knows.
I know it. I mean, I know, man. I know. Listen.
He said, I got different hoes and different area codes.
Wild boy, man. Wild boy. But anyway, I started asking one of my girlfriends, I was like, man, why do we have to wear our hats inside? You know, stupid questions. Like I just remember asking her, like, why is it that it's a big deal? Like if you wear hats to dinner, like if you go out and you go into a dining room, like you don't see that. Like people just wearing the hats that they walked in there with. You take the hat off.
Technically, yeah. Etiquette. Take your hat off.
Right. So it was me questioning etiquette. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what? Like, why is that a thing? Like, what? And it started from that. And I just remember me just asking a bunch of random questions about why we do things. And that was the advent of me questioning existence and questioning what human beings are doing, like why we do things. It was sort of like, it was when a switch went off and I like awoke. And was like, oh, what the fuck is going on around here? Wait a minute. Why are you saying that? Why do we do this? What are these customs? What are these traditions? Why do we? Do
you remember this like moment? I mean, was it like a pivot? Did something happen? Was it a pivotal moment? Or did you really just like all of a sudden?
It was interesting because I was definitely having these thoughts around 20, like 19, 20 is when they were bubbling up. And then I remember asking my brother, who again is this straight and narrow financial guy, I was like, bro, do you ever think about living differently? And that was my level of articulation at the time because I was an idiot. And he was like, yes, of course, they got to think about living differently. That's why I'm trying to make this money. I'm like,
no,
so
no,
right. And I just went back.
Differently.
Exactly. And that's what I meant. I was like, no, like, you don't feel like we're missing out on like another layer of life. Like you don't feel like we're living like shallow. Like there's got to be something else to this thing. And that's like kind of what I was trying to get to. And then I did shrooms.
Okay.
And then I did shrooms, and I just had a shroom experience like 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, 2 weeks. I don't know, somewhere in the last couple weeks. Time has been weird lately. And it's one way I can describe it out of all the myriad ways of describing it is that it's a place where you can go back to like the drawing board. It's a place where you can go where the place where people usually say in conversation, I understand that, as you just did a little while ago to me with the people in the sauna. I understand that, but like, I can't do that.
Right.
Like, I understand the concept, but I can't just do that.
Right.
So that's cool for you, Earl. But, yeah, that's a place where I think you can go and rewrite some of that stuff, where the things that are just abstract ideas can settle in on you and like you can really feel them. And be like, oh, that's why it doesn't matter if they flip the switch on. Like you like the ideas really just like absorb. You like marinate in them. And then I think that you are able to come out with a newer understanding. It may not just be immediate that now you're just not perturbed anymore when people do that in the sauna, but there will be another layer of not caring about it.
Yeah.
And so that's a fascinating place to go. But after that, it was just such a transformative experience. And I was thinking back to when I asked my brother to live differently. And then I was in the middle of the trip and I thought, yes, this is what I was talking about. Like, this is what I was talking about. The feeling that we're all connected, that, I feel invigorated in nature, touching leaves, being next to water, being inland in the mountains, fresh air, whatever, fucking hawks flying over me. Like, I like that shit. I think we all do. I think it all touches us in just a very, very primal, in a very, very primal way.
Do you think you needed that trip? Could you have seen yourself kind of becoming who you were from that moment on had you not tripped? You just kind of sat there and knew that you thought about this question, but just needed, I guess, that extra help to kind of get there.
Maybe with practices in place, but I didn't have any practices at the time. I wasn't doing any fucking yoga. I wasn't like, I don't even know if I was exercising heavily no, I wasn't actually. I wasn't even exercising heavily at that time. I definitely wasn't actually. I was still super fucking scrawny, no muscle at all. No yoga, no meditational practices. Like, I was just trying to read a bunch of books, and smoke a ton of weed at the time. Like, that was really all it was. Yeah, no. There were a couple of things that really exacerbated growth. One of them was my friend Uzima, and every day I would go to work, him and I would we just knew we were going to battle. Like, there was going to be some conversation we were going to have that was going to turn into an all-out argument for the rest of the day. And they were just great debates, and we would just sharpen each other's mind every day. Like, we just come into work and we would just have differing opinions on something, and we would just go through every level of what it was we were talking about. And so that was a huge point where things, definitely increased in speed and in weight. But the whole point is that happened around 20, 21. And so I'm 31. And so I've built a momentum. When I talk about speed and size, that snowball is it's avalanche at this point. It's an avalanche. And so now I just kind of feel like I just sit back and enjoy the ride. That's how I feel right now. Like, sit back and enjoy it. Like, you've built so much momentum over the course of a decade, which is enough time to build some momentum doing something.
Right.
And Now you just fucking ride that wave.
Sounds like a good wave. A good way for you. It's, kind of sit back, enjoy it, relax. It's good.
Yeah, so that's my answer. How are you doing?
Whoa. I don't have quite the answer like that.
No, what's going on with you? How are you feeling about things,
Good. Let's see. The last time we talked, or at least the last time I saw you, have I seen you? I don't remember if me, you, and Stokes got together since the pod. Yeah, I think that was before we did the episode.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It would have been a year ago because we did it at Thanksgiving. It was right after Thanksgiving that we did. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to be the annual, turkey day.
Oh my gosh, that was the case.
It was a couple days after Thanksgiving.
All right, yes, because we were talking about the different things we like to eat, and I remember all that. Okay, all right, continue.
Yep. I'm really excited for Thanksgiving this year because last year, I didn't have my parents there. The past 2 years, right? Because my mom being sick, so they spent it in Richmond. But my mom's doing a lot better, so we're all gonna actually be together this year, minus my older brother because he's gonna be in Texas. But that's whatever. It's fine.
My brother just got married.
Oh, that's exciting. Congrats to him.
Yeah, he just pulled up and was like, yo, get married. Wait, what? It's like, yeah, man, in 3 weeks. Oh, shit.
It's real soon.
Yeah, so now that nigga married.
Okay. Did we at least know that he was in a relationship?
Yeah,
that alone.
Yeah, nah, not for no.
Listen, the initial response I got is cool.
yeah, she got a little shaky. It was pretty funny, but yeah, they married. So I guess I'm gonna see him, and now there's a new Hooks in the family, so I'm certain I'll see them at Thanksgiving. So that'll be interesting to see. What is your favorite family game, group game? I don't want to call them board games because it could be a card game, but I guess I should just say games.
We're not really a game family.
You don't like games?
It's not that I don't like games. We're just not a game family. I don't know.
What do you do?
We just hang out. We just hang out.
What's that mean?
Some people might even be in their own room. Some of us are downstairs.
Wait a minute, that's not hanging out. Wait a minute, that's not hanging out.
He doesn't hang out. Usually, I'm with my parents. My older brother will be there most of the time too. My younger brother, he's a little hermit. So he'll be upstairs playing his games, his own games on the computer, and then we'll come down. But no. But no, which is always kind of funny because one of my best friends, this Kara, they're like second family to me. So I'm on vacation with them all the time, and they're a game family. So if we're all on a family vacation together, we'll have dinner and then we'll all play a couple games together. And I'm like, people actually out here doing this? This is crazy. This is fun.
Oh, you thought that's just some shit that was in a movie?
I mean, kind of maybe watch a movie, which sometimes we'll do that too. But with my family, it's
we
dinner,
watch movies.
And then, well, we don't really do that either.
Oh, wait. Oh, so wait a minute. Y'all ain't hanging out.
Not really.
Yeah,
not really.
You cook the meal and then everybody kind of they're walking around the house.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So I'm usually I'll hang out with my parents. Christmas morning, come down. My dad's making breakfast. We'll all hang out down there. It's mostly my younger brother who's kind of to himself. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving, I'll hang out with them. But then my younger brother's upstairs. We're not really doing anything. We might have, the TV on, have some conversation. So we're physically present with each other.
Oh, okay.
But we don't have any
So you have some conversation?
Yeah, we'll have conversation.
What's it like? Hey, Mom.
But it just, I don't know.
Hey, Joyce.
She does not call me Joyce.
Oh, okay.
She called me Joyce.
Hey, Joycey boo.
No.
What's going on with you? You met anyone interesting lately? Well, there's this guy. He's kind of cute.
Yeah, there's, just conversation. We don't dive in too deep to, it's grilled cheese, maybe a little bit like a French grilled cheese kind of conversation. But we're just kind of, which I get, it works for our family. Mm-hmm. It works for our family. It'd be cool to do some games, but it's not going to happen. I don't know. My parents are older. We just be chilling. Together or separate, come around for dinner and then might hang out a little bit and then everyone just kind of go their separate ways.
All right, that's fine. What games do you like though?
I like card games.
You play spades, don't you?
I
you were just talking about
don't.
this. Oh, okay. Neither do I.
I just recently learned how to play over the summer.
Oh, so you know how to play that? Kinda.
So I learned to play over the summer just that one night. So I did a few rounds that one night, and I haven't played since. So I don't really remember at all what I'm supposed to be doing. And even if it had been, the next night after I learned, like, don't put me on your team. Because I know how niggas get when they're playing spades. And I am not at any point to be playing spades. Y'all get way too into it. And I'm not about to be the one to bring everyone down. So no,
okay,
I don't play spades.
Okay.
Bottom line, nobody asked me to be on it. Now, if it's something like, BP, I'll be on your pong team. We can run tables all night. Spades? No.
Yeah. Beer pong is so much. Man, it's so interesting. Like, just such basic of games can be so much fun. I
just was introduced to one that's kind of like, it seems like a remix-ish of beer pong, and it's called, I think it was called Beer Die. Have you heard of that?
No.
Same table. You have 2 solo cups on each corner of the table, and you just have it like a die and partners. And you have to throw the die up to like a certain height. You kind of like pick a point. Like we were playing outside at a Friendsgiving, and so there was like some light stream. So it was like you had to throw it up to that height, and then you have to try. I wasn't playing, I was watching, so I was trying to pick. So I was trying to pick up on the rules. But it was, I think if you hit the cup, then that's a point, and the other person has to drink. If you make it, then you have to like chug it. So it was like a different kind of. Oh, and you can only catch it. So they throw it. If it hits the table, then you can go to catch it, but you can only use one hand. And you can't like catch it into like your chest. You have to catch it just with the one hand by itself. And then maybe if you don't catch it, the team gets a point. I'm not really sure. Okay,
I don't know about. I'm not necessarily. No, I was gonna say I'm not gonna be confident in the catching part. Although I be catching shit, and nobody be around. Actually, no. Sometimes people be around, but I be catch like stuff. Be falling or slipping, or I know it's about to in like 0.5 seconds, and I just finish doing what I'm doing and put my other hand out at the same time. I'll be catching shit. So I may be all right with it, but I'd be far more confident in the fact that I'm going to hit the cup. I don't have to make it in, but if you give me a die...
It seemed harder.
Really?
It seemed harder than...
Shit. What, you said it's a regular beer pong size table?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm hitting that
maybe.
Cup.
I don't know.
I don't know about making it all the time. I'm not saying that. But
I watched it for a while and no one made it.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't... Yeah, because that's an interesting weight.
The cup got hit. The table would get hit. It's easy to hit the table. So I don't know if it was a different point between the table and hitting the cup. When I watched it, nobody made it. They could have made it after I'd left. And the table was hit more than the cup.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It was not a game for me. I'm too blind to see, and then you have to get it to a certain height. There's no way I can catch that. I can be on the defense. If it's like beer pong and it bounces, yeah, I'll smack that shit out of here. As far as catching it, it's like a $1 bill in the wind. I might have to just kind of chase it a little bit. Every now and then I catch it in my head. I'm like, yes, I made it, but no. Nope.
All right. Okay. How far? No, just keep in mind that hold on. Keep in mind that it's not a super busy street, but it's busy enough. Like there are more than enough people on the street. Okay. And there's $100 bill, and you notice it's like a foot away from you, and you try to grab it and it starts blowing in the wind. How far are you willing to travel to get that $100 bill as it just slowly gets out of your grasp every time you reach for it?
Man, I'd be pissed.
How long would you go in a street, like, again, decently filled with people?
Decently filled. It is like a Friday night in
like
Old
you're
Town.
You're gonna pass people once every 3 seconds. Like a group of 2, group of 3. Yeah.
Are they also going to try and get this $1 bill?
No, they're just going to watch you do it.
Is there a way to beat this? Is it a pot? Can I get this $1 bill? Is this like a game where it just isn't
in your mind, of course you can. You just have to get to it on time. But I just want to know how long you're willing to go before you're just like, hold on a second. I don't feel like I'm going to catch this thing.
I'm not going to end up in DC. If I start here, I'm not ending up in DC.
So let's just say, like, are you willing to go 50 yards?
That's pretty far.
Okay.
That's pretty far. Yeah.
20
I
yards.
think that I would start, and if I'm going, like, you're not gonna have me out here looking like a fool.
That's why.
over $100 bill. I'm not gonna be out here like a chicken with his head cut off, just running around chasing dollar bill noise.
That's the thing, because it's not a dollar bill; it's $100 bill. That's why I said that.
You know what?
Because that kind of changes things.
It does. Like if I was here and it was there, like, oh shit, I might chase a little bit, but if we get a couple apartments down, I might be tapping out.
Oh, I thought that was just a funny.
Maybe if I get lucky and somebody will like step on it for me.
Yes. Yeah. No.
No, they're gonna pick their foot up, and then as soon as I go, it's gone.
What would you do if?
If they picked it up?
Yeah. Keon told me a story about him being in line. I think it was I don't know, maybe like a food spot, and he had a guy in front of him in line who was at the cash register. Keon was just standing there waiting. He happened to gaze down at the ground. He said he saw like $100 bill like right by the guy's foot. And he just like slowly looked up. And slowly looked to his left. Slowly looked to his right. Just wanted to see if anybody else was also seeing what he was seeing. And he said he didn't say a word. And he just slowly just walked up there and just put his foot over top of it. And then just slowly reached down and just grabbed it and put it in his pocket. And I was like, all right, what would you have done if one, the guy came walking back and was just like, hey man, like, did you happen to find like $100 bill on the ground? Like, what are you gonna do? And I think his answer was something idiotic. Like, well, I mean, like, I think he's gonna be cool. Like, he's probably gonna like really fuck with me if I give him that $100 bill back. And I was like,
really fuck with you for what? Like, you gave me, you know what? Thank you for that. I'm gonna give you back double.
My thing is, I think that he should have just, because if you're not gonna pick it up initially and be like, hey man, is this yours? Mm-hmm. Because that's a way that this could have gone too, is you pick it up, hey man, is this yours?
Right.
And then now you're looking at this guy in his eyes and you're respecting him and hoping that he's going to be honest.
Yeah.
And not just be like, yeah, that's mine. Right. Which I wouldn't say that. That's how I feel. Like if someone was like, hey, is that your $100 bill? And I knew good and damn well it wasn't. Right. I'd be like, no, it wasn't. Here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you found that.
That's the right thing to do.
So but for you to take it and put it in your pocket incognito and then him walk off and then come back and be like, hey, did you happen to find $100 bill? I was like, Keon, if you take that shit out your pocket and hand it to him. I was like, what if he's just like, he takes it back, but he's just looking at you like, nigga.
Wait, so if that happened and they came up to you, so you knew that they were looking for it because, you're not just going to walk into a random establishment and like, oh, did you happen to find $100 bill? So obviously he dropped it. You wouldn't give it back?
No, but see, that's the thing. I wouldn't have been, I see what you're saying. If I walk in there and there's not already a guy next to the money, like I just pick something up, because then it doesn't look crazy. But if I was there and it was there, then I'm like, I'm questioning it. I'm like, nigga, you saw, like you did this, like you picked that up and it was while I was here. Like you scoped this out. Like I know you did.
I mean, I don't know.
You at least have more room to think that. It doesn't have to be that.
It's hard because maybe he didn't drop it. And what if he does say like it is his and it's not his? Then I would just be like, but I mean.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give it up. He said it's his. Right. Like clearly I'm gonna be like, nigga, no, it's not. Like what you want me to do at that point? Like I tapped him on his shoulder and asked if it was his. He says yes. I can't be like, nigga.
Prove that shit. Let me see your receipts. Or the sequential numbers on this dollar bill. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I mean, that's a funny story, Keon. I don't know that I could just like.
Yeah, but.
And, funny, I would ask.
Yeah, like funny, like civil things are so hilarious to me. Just like things out in the wild that human beings like come into, encounter.
Yeah, I did have kind of a similar situation. in June, I was at a Giants game in San Francisco. And I was in the bathroom, and I looked down, and there's just money. There's like a little wad of money. So I checked.
A wad?
Well, I'm okay, not a wad. It may have been like $60. But it was folded up, and so I saw a 20 on the outside.
I mean, it could have been a lot of fives and ones.
Listen, it could have been $5.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
That's $5 more than I came in with.
No, I understand.
So I was in the stall. So I look, and I see like some feet there. I see some feet walking by. I waited a second.
For sure.
I grabbed that so quickly. No, I gave it a moment. Nobody looked. That was mine. That was mine. Because I gave the person next to me a chance. Granted,
goodness.
It was kind of like directly in front of me, but in the corner. But I don't know. It could have been the person next to me. I gave them a chance.
How do you think you would fare if things went left in this country? And what I mean, like left, like things, like people was in the streets for real. Like, I don't know, famine, and it just, because again, we're animals when it gets to that point, you know. So how do you think you would fare? Like, what do you have a game plan?
No.
Like who you would maybe try to team up with?
I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day because I forgot how we got on the subject, but we were talking about how if there was an apocalypse, like a zombie apocalypse, all right, bet. I've watched enough Walking Dead. I got this. When I first started watching The Walking Dead, it had already been aired on TV, so I was binging it.
Me too.
And I was binging the shit out of that show.
Me too.
I'm a professional binger. So the point where like I'm having dreams about The Walking Dead and zombies.
Shit, I don't know if I did. I don't know if I that deep.
I would go somewhere, and my first thought would be like, "What's my escape plan? What do I need to?"
Wow. I mean, that's not bad. I wouldn't obsess over it, but I feel like just knowing that in general when you go places isn't terrible.
True. But mine was more like around like zombies, you know. So I was saying if it was something like that, then I got this. I can do that. Unless it's like
But Walking Dead zombies are the weakest zombies of all time.
That I was just about to say. As long as they weren't, I think it's called 28 Days Later. Is that the zombie where they're fast?
They're not 28 Days Later. It ain't World War Z. It ain't I Am Legend.
They're all fast.
Because all of them are strong and
right.
fat.
And if
they're all LeBron and Usain Bolt put together.
Right. So that's terrifying. So when I think of zombie, like, yeah, I can do the Walking Dead zombies.
Yeah,
you
for sure.
had all these other little crackhead zombies.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them fucking Walking Dead zombies.
Right.
I'm really not. Like, when you watch enough of it, you're just like, these, like, they're not really like that. Like, all you have to do is you just can't get caught slipping. Mm-hmm. And I'm not getting caught slipping.
Right.
They're not catching me slipping.
Right.
And as long as you don't get caught in a corner in a drugstore somewhere and there's no escape route through the back because it's locked up from whoever else died in there.
Right.
Then you're good. Then you're like, I'm just like, I'm in
you don't even have to do all that. You just gotta do.
I'm getting in the wind. Yeah, I'm getting out the way. I'm smacking them. Get the fuck off me.
You see them leading herds and they're walking backwards and
they're just not. They're not even strong like that. Like, bro, I'm not. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it.
Okay, so I was saying that I could handle I could handle a Walking Dead zombie apocalypse. But if we had like a real life Purge. Oh no!
That's no. First of all, the world that we live in, that's not meant for women.
No.
That's not meant for women. That's just going to be that would be a terrible time.
And I don't games like hide and seek. I don't like the feeling that I'm like being looked for or like chased. It really freaks me out.
You're not fucking with that?
No. So they're like this, like, please don't get me. No. I don't like that.
I don't like the idea of feeling like I'm being looked for or chased, sought after.
I went to
about.
Okay. So it's like I went to. Have you heard of Markoff's? It's Markoff's Haunted Trail. It's in Maryland. Have you heard of Field of Screams?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like one of those. I went to that this year before Halloween, and awesome setup. We did like the Haunted Trail, and they had amazing props and all the stages. It was really, really great. And I love horror. Spooky season. I thrive in spooky season. Love spooky season. The movies tend to make me laugh because it's just, especially the paranormal ones, it's the same shit. It's just, the person gets dragged out of bed, floating on the ceiling, down. It's just the same stuff.
I feel you.
And it's just comical to me.
Yeah.
But in person, that's when I'm like, I want to do those trails, but I need to be latched onto somebody hiding through my fingers. And there was one, and it was like we got to one stage, and it was somebody who's like a Grim Reaper, dressed up like a Grim Reaper. And he's just kind of out there. Usually they're hidden, but he was just out there. So I'm walking, I'm like, okay, I see him, he can't scare me. I see him, he can't scare me. I see him, he can't scare me. And he's just following me. He heard that, and that was enough. So I'm like dip, ducking, and dodging around my friend.
Oh, you said that aloud.
Yeah, I did.
He's definitely going to fuck with you.
I thought I was quiet enough. And just, like this, like, okay, if I see him, he can't scare me. If I see him, he can't scare me. He heard me, and he scared the shit out of me. So I'm like breaking ankles, going around, running around circles around my friend. No, I don't like being chased. He wasn't really.
That's your thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was fun. Loved it because that's what I look for, things like that.
Okay. You look for thrilling things in the spooky season.
Right. If it was the Purge, that's different. But things like that, like I want to be scared. I want to go to those things and have that like adrenaline because I don't get it from the movies, but I love all things horror and thriller and suspense.
When you were a kid, did you have the privilege and the liberties of running around and trying to find spooky places? Like as a teenager, you ever gone to? Because we used to try to find these places.
I don't know that
Bunnyman's Bridge.
We did do that. Mm-hmm. I don't. Other than that, I don't know that we really.
Any abandoned houses you ever run up on?
Not really. I mean, I could have. Did I have the privilege to do that? Sure. Did I do that though? No. I don't know that horror really, like that kind of stuff really got to me until. It was probably like high school. So I guess that's probably about when you would do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. A couple years ago, there were some friends who I was talking to, and we talked about doing stuff like that. And then they always faked, and we just never did it. A little while, I may have had like a Ouija board.
You played with a Ouija board before. Y'all was looking for some answers.
Yeah, and they sold it. So someone gave it to me for my birthday. It was one of my best friends. And they bought it at Toys R Us.
Is that right?
That's accurate.
Ages 6 and up. Like, I wonder, there has to say that on there. I want to know what a Ouija board says. Like, what are the age ranges for Ouija boards? I
still have it at home. I don't touch it.
You got to send me that picture.
I will send you a picture. And then it's going right by. It just needs to go in the trash, honestly. I don't mess with it anymore. But the box looks, it's inviting. It's a glow-in-the-dark one.
Do you have the feeling that there just are spirits, or that you don't want to find out whether there are or not? And if you feel like there are, do you feel like they're inherently negative? I
mean, I'm sure there are. I believe that there are spirits, around up and stuff. I've never had that, like, like breeze in the room. Never had, situation
never got
like
pushed
that.
Up against a wall or something like that.
No.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
No, okay. I haven't woken up with, scratches or anything like that. That would, no. I think the last time that I used it was, because usually when we only used it a couple times. I remember doing it at the friend who got it. We did it at her house. And then there was one time where he did it in my house. And I don't know, people, because I
was about to say, come on, get into the nitty gritty. Did that thing move?
It did. But you have to take it with a grain of salt. Because keep in mind, we were probably like 16, 17. So you really can't move it. You have to make sure that you are not moving yourself. If one person's just slightly moving it, then you all kind of like feed into it and move it together. Okay,
because I was about to say, like, when someone starts moving it, can't you feel where the force is coming from?
Kind of, but not really. It doesn't take much to move it. So there were
something tells me, that is the reason as to why it's made that way. I think it's manufactured so that it feels as though it's just sliding. And as soon as the slightest bit of force starts on from someone's edge or someone's point. Right. Again, as you said, everyone else sort of just goes with it. But for it to go to like certain letters, like that's just bullshit unless some shit's really happening.
Right. And I don't think that we really had anything like that. And I don't know that we had much of like the letters. We asked more of like yes and no questions. And I remember at my friend's, there was one where we were doing it, and I think like her backpack tipped over. Like a tennis ball kind of rolled out, maybe the candle flicker. I don't know. You really, honestly, it probably wasn't shit. She did have some weird stuff happening sometimes. She said that like the next day, her printed pic.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
Her printer, her pretty picture
her
printer.
printer printed a picture
Yes.
of a snowman, and nobody had like, I don't know. It's a snowman. Who really knows?
Bro?
But like nobody had attempted to print that at one point. I don't know. But the last time that we did it was in my house, and we asked if somebody was there. Okay, yes, went to yes. And then we asked, like, do you like the family here? Do you like me? Or do you like this room? And it went to no. And we dipped the fuck out. We closed that shit real quick, ran out the front door. I was like, I'm not touching that again. That's all I need. I don't want to know any more questions. You say don't like us? Cool. I'm gonna mind my business. That's gone. And I haven't touched it since. So we very easily could have moved that. Somebody could have just like subconsciously moved that.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah, people are really, really into the belief of spirits and moving around and ghosts and, you know, pissing people off and doing the wrong things and get in touch with the wrong. Oh my God. Wild segue. The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. So this is a book that Mikey has given me. It's New York Times bestseller by V.E. Schwab. I've never read anything from her before, but let me tell you something. She's good.
Yeah.
She's good. And I don't read a ton of contemporary novels. I most certainly would, but a lot of them I've read have been classics, you know, fucking D.H. Lawrence and Oscar Wilde and, you know, Mary Ann Evans, like those sorts of characters. So it's a completely different way of speaking because that shit is like 18th century, 17th century. But I do love her usage of words. She has such a way with describing events. And this book, I don't know if you know this, I'm really, really obsessed with eternal beings. Like things that just yeah, I'm just really, what?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm just really, really intrigued by them. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not just into Twilight for the vampires, you know, type of thing, but I like the idea of a vampire. I like the idea, the picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde was, a story about a guy that was just going to live forever and all of his sins were going to be encased in a huge portrait of himself. So he was going to see himself get older, more decrepit and nasty and vile as he aged and did more, you know, sins. And it was like a sell your soul to the devil type of thing. As I was saying, there are a lot of people in our world that believe that there are all sorts of spirits out there and that you should not just be trying to get in contact with anyone.
Right.
Like anything.
Yeah, I'm sure that story is going to have a lot of people like, oh no, she's crazy. She needs.
I've had a witch come on.
Really? That's super interesting.
Yeah, and spoke to her. Yeah, I've spoken to her plenty of times about it, but yeah, it is very interesting listening. So Adeline LaRue was a girl that was living in, this was 1714 when this book begins, Paris. Her parents are trying to marry her off some dude. Not only does she not want to do it, but she's like, you know, beyond her years in this time. I don't want to fucking belong to no man. I don't want to do none of this shit that these motherfuckers are talking about that I have to do. I don't want to belong to anyone. I don't want to have to live up to the expectations of anyone. I don't want to have to do that. I want freedom. I want to live and I want to be free and I want to live my way. That was her idea. And so the time came where they were going to marry her off. And she had been told before by who they call like a crazy woman, who's also like a spiritual sort of witchy woman in the village. Never, no matter how desperate you get, never pray to the gods that answer after dark. Never pray to the spirits that answer after dark. And clearly it came down to that time. It was like the night before she was to be wed. And she was like, fuck this. I'm not doing this. I'm not living this life. And runs out into the woods and is like, someone answer me. I don't give a fuck. I'll give anything. Someone pop up. When a fucking dark figure shows up. It's like, you called, I'm here. And she pretty much makes a contract with this extremely deep, dark, maleficent fucking force. And it's when I'm done with my soul, when I no longer want to live, you can have it. And this eternal being, knowing how human beings are, is probably like, you're not going to make it long. You're not going to want to live that long. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah, sure, let's make this deal because I have for eternity to wait. So
you're right.
Yeah, let's go ahead and make this deal. And then she wakes up the next day and now she belongs to no one because no one can remember her after she leaves their sight. So she meets people.
Have you talked about this on an episode before? This sounds familiar.
I talked about the fact that, well, Mikey talked to me about it on the Anthony Stokes episode.
Okay.
Yeah. Mikey had talked to me about it,
and then so familiar. Yeah, I know that I haven't read it.
So then he gave it to me, and it's so fascinating. Again, not only is she so good with describing people and just, you know, landscapes and ideas, she's so good at that. But she takes so many things into consideration that would probably go over your mind when you think about, which is again why I'm so interested in eternal beings. Like all the things that your life would have to be, like how it would have to completely change from the way that you live now. And this book goes from 1714 and then the next chapter would be 2014. And you get to see how she lives in current day 300 years later after this thing happens to her. And then like almost every other chapter, it kind of flips back to 1714, 1715, like when this first happens and when she's first trying to understand what this thing is that's been given to her, this curse / gift, and how she's going to live life that way. And it just goes back and forth and you get to see this contrast as the book continues on. All the things that she's considered about what that lifestyle would be like is so creative and it's so insightful. It took her 10 years to write this book. The longest other books have taken her have been like 2 to 3 years. I had to like read the beginning of the book, like the introduction, because I just wanted to know what the fuck was going on. And she had the conception happened when she went on like some ski trip with a friend or something like that. And then from that moment on, she just like, it just kept building, like the character kept building and the story kept building. But to think about things like, how do you own something if no one can remember you? Like, how do you own a home? Mm-hmm. You know, how do you, like, there's so many moments in which someone remembering you is very important.
Right.
Like, it's very vital for you to be able to do these things. You get a hotel room. And you go in there and then at some point in time you walk out and the manager's just like, yo, who the fuck are you? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Get out. And then they call the police. You got to go. Right. Like she goes through every little instance of like where it makes sense, where people need to remember you or know you. And it started as a very, very rough world for her. And kind of going back to what it would probably most likely be like for women if there was a purge. She was turned away from the church, you know, because she looked dirty and raggedy and they probably thought that she was a whore off the street because that's how they looked at people back then. And well, I mean, and probably now too in a lot of places. Like, but the priest was like, no, you got to get out of here. She was trying to find solitude there because again, she had nowhere to go because clearly her parents don't remember her, so she can't stay home. Parents don't know who the fuck she is. Right. She can't. None of her childhood friends, so she has to leave the village. So she's just meandering around, completely aimlessly. Don't know up from down, left from right. Like you just have this new cursed gift. You're just moving around. What
did she propose to this being? Just don't make me marry him? And
she said, and that's a very good question because at first the dark entity was asking her, well, what do you want? Like, what are you asking for truly? Like, state the words. And she said, like, I don't know. I want to live. I want time. I want time. And he's like, this doesn't seem concrete enough. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you need to tell me what you want. And I put in for souls. I don't want none of your trinkets. I'm not none of them. I'm stronger than your God and older than your devil. Like that's a quote in there. Like I am everything. I am the all knowing. I am death and despair and hope and reason. And I was like, oh fuck, this shit is crazy. And then she was like, okay, well, what I want is time to live under no one's rule. I don't want to live for anyone, by anyone, attached to anyone. And then it like gave her a kiss and bit her lip and blood came out and was like done. And then
and that's all she wrote.
Yeah. And then
from there. Yeah, that's something.
I'm gonna try to find it. Yeah, it's like some deep shit. Oh my goodness, there's some deep shit in here.
If there's one thing I learned from Aladdin, you have to be careful with your words.
Oh wait,
like
the genie.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very true. I'm trying to think if I can find. Oh yeah, hold on a second. I think I'm about to find it. There was times she gets really fucking crazy.
Have you finished the
book?
book?
Here we go. I got it. Oh no, absolutely not. I'm only 114 pages in. This bad boy is a 400 one. Oh, I'm excited. Because I was going to be really upset if they tried to make something that could be this great. Like if they took this concept and squeezed it in like 150 pages to 200, I would have been very upset about that.
Yeah.
Something like this needs breadth. 400, I'm cool with. It could have been longer than that.
Yeah.
But I'm cool with the 400. So, no, she was pushed away from the church. She had gotten into some, I always forget the term for this, homeless shelter. But in the morning, and not even in the morning, in the middle of the night, she didn't even get through a whole night. They came and threw her out because they didn't remember who she was.
Because them just walking away.
Because they just walked away. Once you close the door and you open the door, it's a new person. Like you don't know, you have no recollection. She can leave no mark. She spills a glass of wine on a white couch, it slowly dissipates.
Oh.
She can't leave her mark on because that would be in some way a memory of her. So that she even thought that through. Like she can't she can't leave her mark anywhere because that would be some remembrance of someone that doesn't necessarily exist in a way. And then she even talks about her having these psychological bouts of, do I even exist? If I can't leave a mark, if no one can remember me and I can't leave a mark, do I even exist?
So that's like, so her whole book is, I mean, it's just like figuratively and literally, there's no footprints being left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
That's a mindfuck from the character's perspective.
So she ends up, I'll read this part first before I tell you what happens afterwards. So she goes down to the docks at one point. The docks are where it gets nasty. Because Paris, I don't know if it's still the same, but at this point in time, it's very wealthy and very poor. There's no in between. Like you either up there or you in the dumps with everybody just doing nasty, wild dock type shit. Should they go down at the dock? You know what I mean? You can only imagine what's going down at the dock.
I guess so.
Well, this is what's going on at this dock. That's where the ladies be at. That's where the streetwalkers are.
Like the Jezebels.
And the goddamn Jezebels. And so she goes there because she's hungry as hell. And that's not something that the entity took away from her. She can still feel hunger. She can't die though. But you can feel the hunger as if you were going to, right? She don't got no money. And she hasn't learned yet how to steal. Later on in life, you live 300 years, you learn how to steal. You should get real good at it. But at this point, this is just at the beginning. So she doesn't know how to steal shit. There's no way of getting money. Like, so she's like, fuck, I gotta go down to the dock. I guess I gotta give it up. Okay. Let's see. It's darker there in the shadow of the ships. A landscape of crates and barrels, ropes and rocking boats. Eyes follow her. Men glance over from their work and women look on, lounging like cats in the shade. They have a sickly look about them, their color too high, their mouths painted a violent gash of red. Ugh. You know what that looked like. Goddamn Jezebels.
Unhand me, you Jezebel.
Their dresses tattered and dirty, and still finer than Addie's own. Addie been dirty for a little while because she'd been traveling.
Right. She'd been struggling.
Yeah. She has not decided what she means to do, even when she slips the coat from her shoulders. Even when a man comes up to her, one hand already roving, as if testing fruit. How much? He asked in a gruff voice. And she has no idea what a body is worth, or if she is willing to sell it. When she does not answer, his hands grow rough. His grip grows firm. 10 souls, she says. I don't know what the fuck that means in French. SOLS. I don't know. I guess that's bread over there. And the man lets out a bark of laughter. What are you, a princess? No, she answers. A virgin. There were nights back home when Addie dreamed of pleasure, when she conjured the stranger beside her in the dark. The stranger is this person that she's come up with in her mind that would be like her Prince Charming. That's what she calls him. When she conjured the stranger beside her in the dark, felt his lips against her breasts, imagined her hand was his as it slipped between her legs. My love, the stranger said, pressing her down into the bed, black curls tumbling into gem green eyes. My love, she breathed as he entered her, her body parting around his solid strength. He pushed deeper and she gasped, biting her hand to keep from sighing too loud. Her mother would say that a woman's pleasure was a mortal sin. But in those moments, Addie didn't care. In those moments, there was only the longing and the want and the stranger whispering against her skin as the tension deepened. The heat building, this is fire right here. The heat building like a storm in the bowl of her hips, and then in her mind. Adeline would pull his body down on hers, drawing him deeper and deeper until the storm broke and thunder rolled through her. She nice.
Yeah. She's got a way with words.
But this is nothing like that. There is no poetry to this unknown man's grunts, no melody or harmony, save the steady noise of thrusting as he pushes himself against her. No rolling pleasure, only pressure and pain, the tightness of one thing being forced inside another. And Addie looks up at the night sky so she won't have to look at his body moving. And then she feels the darkness looking back. The darkness is what she calls that entity. Then they are in the woods again. That's where the entity in her made the thing. And his mouth is on hers, blood bubbling on her lips as he whispers, done. Now, the word usage of that word done is amazing because 100 pages ago, she used that word done. And it was when he bit her lip, had it bleeding, and that was the consecration of the contract. He said done, and then and she woke up. And then she brought that word back here, just done, right? Feeling like she is seeing this man in front of her, taking from her, in a sense, in that she has to look up into the darkness so she doesn't see him. But then she sees the darkness, this entity, sort of like glaring back at her in a way. Like she can sense this. And that was the last thing she ever heard from that entity, done. And then as soon as she says done in this current predicament, the man finishes with a final thrust and slumps against her, leading. And this cannot be it. This cannot be the life Addie traded everything for. This cannot be the future that erased the past. Panic grips her chest, but this stranger doesn't seem to care or even notice. He simply straightens up and tosses a handful of coins onto the cobbles at her feet. He trundles off, and Addie sinks to her knees to collect her reward, and then empties her stomach into the river.
It's quite a passage.
Quite a fucking passage.
Vivid. Puts you right there. Is the whole, so it's all in third person?
Yes.
That's an interesting take.
I love third person.
I think that usually I would say I don't, but just from what you've read, I think I prefer in third person. I think it does a better job of kind of putting you there. I like that.
Yeah. It was, and then she goes to sleep out some fucking where out there at the docks, and she wakes up and she's like, she can feel like she's cramped and like in something, and it's dark. And she starts trying to push her hands out to like create space because she doesn't know like why she's compacted in something. And she slowly starts to like feel like faces and hands and feet. And she starts panicking and trying to get out of it. And she realizes she's in dirt and she's been buried. And she fucking climbs out of a barrel full of dead people and falls out onto the street. And it's because in this place, again, as bad as it was, people were just dying on that street. So there were clearly some public servants that would just go around and just pick up the dead bodies in the morning, you know, in barrels. And they thought that she was a dead woman, and she crawled out. So these were like the first, you know, few months of this curse / gift being given her. But I was just like, man, the amount of detail to just what that life, you know, would have in store for you. And it just, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more going on, and I'm only a fourth of the way through the book.
Yeah, I want a book review when you're finished.
Oh,
I want to hear about it
1000%.
because that sounds really interesting. It sounds like an interesting read.
Yeah,
I'm curious. And I want what's your story? How's this going to end? You know? Just the last page, just done.
Hey man, we're gonna see.
I'm excited to hear about that one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. You know, speaking of, are you reading anything at all?
I am, but because of it's for like a class, we had we had to choose a topic. So mine is the negative impact of inconsistent foster homes on youth. And so we have 3 papers throughout the semester, and our first one was just basically about the problem. Second paper is interventions for the problem, and then the third one is we had to read or listen to like a memoir for somebody who went through something and within that topic. And so I'm reading a book called Foster Girl about somebody who's in the foster system and kind of her whole story with that.
Oh wait, but that's a nonfiction?
Yeah.
Okay. At my job the other day, it's so interesting, all this stuff connects. I met this very, very, I could just tell as soon as I saw her at my job, she was just seemed very focused. She had a young son with her, but you could just tell she was the type of woman where, like, she knows what she's doing, like what she's saying, what she's like, she's focused. Like when she looks at you, she's looking at you, and she's saying things with intention. It's all very calculated. You know, she just looks very calculated and very like driven and focused on what it is she's doing. She's also just very like fun and warm-hearted, but she's also very, very focused, and you're not just pulling bullshit on her. Like, you can just tell that. And then I got to realize why that was the case. So her name is Jessica J. Stern. Very, very cool person. Co-founder and COO of something called Connect Our Kids. Have you heard of this? Using technology to improve foster care outcomes. And then there's this Nelson Mandela quote on the back. There can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way it treats its children. That's interesting. That's a good way of looking at it. But yeah, she was just talking to me about how she loves doing what she does, which is using or implementing top-notch, state-of-the-art sort of technology, getting in touch with other companies that have this state-of-the-art technology that is going to help them connect foster care kids that usually turn homeless for various reasons back with family members and things of such sort that they can find, because sometimes people just get lost. She said a lot of people get lost, especially Black, brown people get lost through the foster care system and end up homeless. Most people homeless, I think for the most part, there's a lot of mental health issues, because people ask me that all the time when they come from, like, I fucking know the answers, but they're like, if they come from other countries and usually they come here for a better, like, I've had people from India, people from, Spanish speaking countries come here and be like, I've noticed like homeless people here. because they have an idea of America. They're like, what's going on? Like, why do you guys have so many homeless people? There's so many jobs. Like, there's so many opportunities. Like, I don't understand. Like, we came here and we just, like, the whole family's doing good. We all got jobs. We're all bringing money to the house. We party. Like, I don't understand why all these people, and I don't, have all the fucking stats on that. I'm not, reading any of those charts, but I do know that mental health spits a lot of people out into the streets, and, the foster care system. A lot of people get lost through the foster care system. And, it was interesting because we just ended up having a whole conversation, and she gave me her card. She was talking to me about all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, like my brother went through the foster care system, like my eldest brother that I don't ever really talk about on here. It's like, he went through the foster care system, and that shit did not go, she wasn't tight. Like, it didn't go very well. And she was like, where is he now? And I was like, it's funny you ask, because I don't really know. It's not that he's uncharted. It's not that no one can get in touch with him.
Right.
Like, he's got a Facebook page, like people can like find him. But as far as being estranged from a lot of family,
it's easy to get lost in the system. And it's funny, one of my other classes, I just started the paper for it, so I don't have a lot of information on it, but it's how homelessness affects the psyche, the mental health and everything on it. And so a lot of it is, mental health problems, losing of jobs, homeless, but then also a lot of it is they become homeless and then they have the mental health issues. Because as you can imagine, being homeless, all the different things that you experience and see, that's going to have a huge effect on your mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have, the people who just get lost in the system. It's especially for people of color. You age out, or you just end up with really shitty foster homes and you're just bouncing around. And then you have the other factors of the incarceration, and you have problems, developing a social network and things like that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
just,
for sure. Yeah. Developing like a strong, productive, meaningful, sort of social network. I mean, I don't know, man. Because
ideally, in a perfect world, you wouldn't necessarily be in foster care.
Right.
But if you were, you'd be with one family and you would stick with them for as long as you can. But then you have some cases where, people are bouncing around and they've been to 5 different schools in a year or 2. And that's insane. So you can't build the social network. And then, your grades start to dwindle because what's the point? And then you're having more, maladaptive behaviors outside of that, and you aren't building relationships with your foster family. And so when you aren't building relationships with your foster family, they might not advocate for you in a way that they should, because what's the point? We don't know how long you're going to be here. So why should I? The people who just have you for the check. And then so it just becomes no one's there to support you in the way that you need to. So then that's when, eventually you're in the system until you're 18. Then you fail out of the system, and then you're just kind of on your own. You don't have that support. No one gives you that support. Shit. Yeah, it's a real shitty world. It's not cool. It's not
Yikes.
cool.
Yeah, and that's why she had the look in her eye that she did. First of all, her name is Jessica J. Stern. Okay, like that's like, you know what I'm saying? She was, and then not only did she give me this card, but then a couple weeks later, I got a letter from her. It was just like, oh, so nice to meet you. Like, we were meant to meet. Like, we're out here, me and this organization, we're working, and we're gonna fucking flip this thing on its head. Like, we're going to make change. And I was just like, damn.
Did you have a website title on that?
Bro, yeah, there's a whole website here. I got you. I got, the phone number, the everything, the email, go ahead, take a look at that. You want here, go ahead, have that. I think I got 2.
Do you?
Yeah.
I can take a picture.
Yeah. No, you can go ahead and take that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Very, very interesting woman. Yeah. A lot of wild shit.
That's great work.
A lot of wild shit going on out here with people. Okay.
Yeah. I was in foster care, but 4 months is when I was adopted. My brothers were the same kind of way. We were all adopted infants. So I was incredibly blessed for my story. And you just never know. I remember, yeah.
You beat him out.
It could have been a whole
cute little baby.
I was a cute little baby.
You was cute little baby.
But so my parents looked into 2 different adoption agencies, and I think the first one was in Texas, and I mean they straight up they didn't work with children of color. They just they're not gonna be adopted. We're just not. Gonna,
wait, hold on a second. Wait, you mean they didn't work with them?
Like, they did not
like
have,
they didn't accept them.
They did not have children of color. They were all Caucasian babies.
Damn.
Yeah. So my parents found Children's Home Society.
Damn.
It was Catholic. Actually, no. It was. It was. I think it was an agency here. It was Catholic Charities, and then they kind of referred my parents to Children's Home Society because they just didn't have. But not that my parents were necessarily like, oh, I want a baby of color, but they only had specific. Of that, because they just, no, they didn't.
That's so, man.
Yeah, I think I started with Catholic Charities, and then they also transitioned me to Children's Home Society.
If you, because let's just see where this lands before I even say anything else. If you adopted a child, would their orientation matter? And if so, why?
Are you asking me personally or in general? For me, no. I mean, no. I'm a mixed baby. My siblings they're all mixed.
So you take a little Korean baby?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, my parents are white. My older brother is white and Hispanic, and my younger brother is black and white. Like
the only reason, because people are like, "Earl, what's wrong with you?" The only reason I asked that question is because it clearly is a point of interest for people.
For me, it wouldn't matter.
I think some people feel like, there are all sorts of ways of having this conversation. Like, can I give this baby what they need? Like, can I? I think there have been certain shows. Maybe Atlanta did something like this. But if
that's so funny. I was going to ask you a question.
Like a white mom taking like a black child, but you don't know how to do their hair or some shit. Like you don't know how to, But I would hope that you would try to learn black hair, different textures.
It's funny. I remember seeing a video. I think it was like on Twitter or something, and it was a white mom. It was that exact same situation. A white mom doing her adopted child who's black, her hair, and everyone's like, "Oh, good for her." Well, no. You've adopted this child, so it is your job to do what works for them.
Yeah.
You can't just It's not a round of. That's like when you applaud the dad for babysitting. No, that's your child.
He's like, oh, that's a father with this.
Right. You are doing what you were supposed to be doing. Granted, firsthand, I know it can be a learning curve because my mom did not know how to do my hair.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to do my hair.
Right.
I didn't learn how to do my hair until after high school. I mean, I was still figuring it out, but. She tried. You can't. But it's not a round of applause. Like, well, mom, that's what you're supposed to be doing.
And so I that's why I ask you the question because, there's a very, very deeply human part of you that's like, if it's a baby and maybe it doesn't have, because I'm certain that they have like facts about them, like their genealogy or their parents at least or something like that. If they don't come from psychotic stock. I might.
It's a case, but
I might purchase this baby.
Which is funny. My parents, their caseworker had told them about this other baby who was up for adoption, but the baby was born like in the mental health institution with his mom, who was a diagnosed schizophrenic, whose biological father also I think was schizophrenic or had some other kind of mental illness. So
double whammy,
right? So. In situations like that, you'd get the heads up, and it just was not.
I'm sorry, man. Sorry, little guy.
Right.
I just can't take the risk.
It was not.
I can't wake up one night and you sitting at the foot of the bed, like looking at me like I can't. I just can't, bro. I can't.
Right,
I'm sorry.
Right, and I mean, my older brother had his own difficulties that my parents had to work with. Nothing schizophrenic like, but there was their own difficulties there, and I just couldn't imagine if the baby was.
I also, another thing is, and now this is clearly a very layered discussion, but some people would say, are you going to give them their culture? Like, are you going to give them their history? Because I'm not Korean.
Right.
I feel like I would take a Korean baby, but I don't know how to speak that language. I don't know the customs. And the thing is, like, would I learn how to speak Korean? I don't know if it's going to get that far. I could learn some things, but so that's another thing. If that's something that you feel like ought to matter, I don't. What do you think?
I think it's just a case by case. I mean, I think that you have some parents who would prefer to adopt a child that looks like them. I was raised by 2 white parents, so for me, it's not a problem. I can have an Asian baby. I can have a white baby. It doesn't matter to me. And I also, with that in mind, my parents didn't. I don't think they exposed me to that kind of culture. I grew up, in a predominantly white neighborhood. A lot of my friends were white. It wasn't really until I got older that I started kind of dabbing into that myself. So I don't think, it's something that should be hidden from the kid. But I don't know that I would go out of my way to do everything that represents their culture. Like their birthday parties.
Coming in, we playing K-pop.
My mom, who is it? You don't know who this is? I don't know who this is.
That's funny as hell.
Just birthday parties that are themed within their culture. That you might be doing a little bit much. But if they get older and they ask, then sure, we can figure it out together.
I think ultimately
Korean. I can barely no.
You barely know English.
You heard me saw myself there.
I feel like
y'all heard me stuttering earlier.
I feel like it would be fine. I honestly I'd be psyched to just create a very interesting human being like that, where it was like, it's a Korean dude, but he clearly had just grew up around a black dude, but but also a black dude that thinks the way that I do about things. So you're going to have this Korean dude that clearly came from black stock, right, to some degree.
I've seen some videos of this, it was an Asian woman, and you wouldn't expect her to, sound the way she did, but she came out and she sounded like she was straight out of Brooklyn. She was out here in these streets. These are her streets. And you wouldn't expect that, but I don't know where she was raised and who she was raised by, and
you never know sometimes.
You never know.
Yeah, it's funny when a certain accent comes out. Mm-hmm. Like an Asian dude with a country accent is fucking
right.
Those types of things.
So you'll hear a song oh, that sounds good, and you look at them what? This was by whom?
Yeah, so those things are interesting. But I think that you might have a bit more of a chance of being freer if you do grow up that way, where the people that are raising you don't necessarily look like you, and you're growing up with different people. So it's probably already going to be very difficult for you to just hate people that look like that just on the merit of them looking like that, meaning racism dissolves. It probably is going to have much less of a grasp on you because you're just growing up around other people automatically, and not only other people, but other people that brought you in. That did you a great service. So I don't know if you would just have just such a pride, because again, I think that these two things play along with each other, but they get very, conflated sometimes and convoluted, which is having pride in something and then willing to fight, you become. It's sort of like patriotism and nationalism. Patriotism, people are oh, it's cool. He's a patriot. You know what I mean? He loves his country. And then nationalism just seems like it's just a nastier word. It seems like it's just an extreme version, which I believe is exactly the definition. It is an extreme, a furthered version of it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's just, you want to be able to be prideful of things because people are going to be prideful of things. It could be their favorite football team. It could be their skin color, whatever. But you also, there's a point of insanity. There's a point where you take that thing too far. It becomes a little too much of you, and you're no longer realizing that. You're not just playing a game anymore. And so I think it would be really cool to just grow up with some different people that teach you different things about different people. And you just grow up, and then maybe you're not as shackled to an idea of who you are and who you're kind of supposed to be based upon, you growing up in a household of people just wanting to hammer into you the type of person you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that
because if it's a Korean dude, you're not going to be talking to him like, hey, you are a Korean boy. You're going to have, like, you know what I mean? You wouldn't do that, but maybe a Korean father would say that to his child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you know, you might say that to a black young person, like, listen, you're a black man. You're going to have to work much harder than anyone else and blah, blah, blah. You might get that from a black parent, but like maybe another parent, you don't get that.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, hey, you just have to work hard in this world.
Yeah.
But you don't get because you're black. You just get, hey, you're going to have to work really hard for things that you want in this world. And like that can just be a very powerful thing in itself and not as constrictive and maybe slightly corrosive.
Yeah.
As I think it probably is.
I think that there's absolutely pros and cons to both. Because at the same time, you know, I almost feel sheltered to a lot of it as well. Like I was really ignorant to a lot of what other people were facing because of their skin color. You know, I knew of stuff, but I didn't really know of stuff until much later. So I think to your point, yes, definitely. And I wouldn't change it at all. I love the way that I was raised. I'm blessed with my family. But there are some things that I just wasn't exposed to that could, you know, it just would have been nice to be a little more knowledgeable of things going on rather than kind of when I got older. But
racism is like the stupidest thing in the whole world. Like,
it's just without question.
It's just so stupid.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
That's what's funny, that people like really be racist.
It just doesn't make sense.
And it's like, whoa, like, why are you hating? Just like, wow.
That, you know, homophobia. It just genuinely doesn't make sense to me.
It's very, very wild.
It just doesn't make sense to me at all.
It's very, very wild. I think that people just don't have enough real engagement and participation with the world. Like, it just comes down to that, man.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, because people are just looking at the wrong things. They're just looking at the wrong, like and that is sheerly indicative of that fact. The fact that people are even out here worried about what someone looks like in that sense. Mm-hmm. That just means that you are just missing the whole point. Like you're just missing everything.
Right.
You're looking past everything and just looking for the stupidest thing to just have your panties in a bunch about.
Right. Cannot comprehend.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
At all.
It's pretty bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you made a reference to Atlanta earlier, and it's funny, so I was going to ask you if you watched it. I still have 2 episodes left of this last season. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, so you've watched up to. Oh, yeah. I don't know what the last episode is. It over? Is the season finale out? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I believe so. I believe there are 10 episodes this season, I think. I wonder if the last one I watched was the finale. Oh. I don't know. I thought I was caught up, but... So you're watching this season? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, maybe, yeah. I don't know. I just hit new episode next. Let's play. And you're watching it on Hulu? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you don't know how many episodes you watched? Nope. Okay. What was the last episode? So you have 2 left. I just watched... Is that Alfred out at the farm? No, that's the next episode. Oh, so then I must be done. So, yeah, because I just watched the episode where Lottie had her birthday. Okay. Lottie had her birthday out at a big campground with Ern and Vanessa. Yep. And okay. And then Alfred was the next one. Then I guess I did watch the finale. Trippy episode. Yeah. But it's funny because what is this? Is it Darius? Yeah. Yeah. That's my man. Okay. Has anyone ever told you? Okay. I figured. I was like, I know I just have to just start saying the words, and he's gonna know where I'm going with this. But every time he comes on camera, I'm like, Earl, when did you get casted? Especially this last episode. Oh, I'm really excited for you to watch this one. Then that's really funny. Because I mean, just in a whole, yeah, he's you are him. That's funny. I don't know how I feel about that. He's a weird guy. I mean, I'm also a very weird guy. But I love him. Yeah. I mean, right. He is
He's a weird guy.
He's weird. Okay, you're not quite, fully Darius, but there are those similarities.
Lakeith Stanfield, the actor that plays him, is a weird guy.
Is he?
He's not Darius, but he's his own. Still a weird guy.
After this, I guess the finale, I wanted to go and watch an interview of him just to see what he's like, off camera. So it's interesting that he also is.
Sometimes he's fucking around. Like sometimes he'll do an interview and he'll play a character.
Oh, that's fine.
Just to fuck around with the people. Like he won't be himself, or he will be. He'll be extremely just facetious and sarcastic and just very playful. So he's a lot of things. Like you can catch him in a lot of different moments, being a lot of different things.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he's a fascinating guy.
Yeah, but I mean, like looks and just the way.
You say I look like Lakeith Stanfield is so funny. You think my face looks like Lakeith Stanfield's face?
In a way, okay. But you also remind me a lot of Will Smith. And I know that you've heard this before. Yes. Will Smith, and have you not heard it?
I've heard it of Darius.
There's just like little bits and pieces.
Yes, the last time I heard it about Darius, the character Darius, someone said, because someone also has said just Lakeith Stanfield, just as a person. Clearly, you just said his face, so clearly Darius as well, because their faces don't change.
Right, that's the same person.
But the last time I heard them say Darius, it was my friend Nick, and he said, yeah, it's just that thing about him that's like he's clearly like not really on the same page with everyone, and he and he doesn't really know a ton of stuff, but he definitely has a very, very strong sense of like wisdom and peace.
That's the part. The first, you lost me in the first half. Because that is not at all you.
Okay.
Yes, he is very disconnected at times.
Very, very disconnected.
But it is his just one with himself.
Yes.
And his hippie ways and his just in touch with nature. That's where the resemblance comes in the face.
He usually seems quite unbothered.
Very, very. And I'm excited. I'm going to have, when you watch the finale, I want you to text me afterwards. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's
been a fun ride. I really enjoyed that show.
Me too.
They did a really good job. I imagine a show like that for everyone involved in making something like that. Just people looking back like, damn, we got to make that show. Like, man, remember all those years we were together? Like that type of thing. Where you just look back like a fucking Seinfeld or a Game of Thrones, just something where you look back like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like that was a fucking behemoth of a show. And we all were there all those years creating these bonds. And it just looks like it's so much fun. It looks like they have so much fun.
Some of those episodes are just...
they have so much fun going to work.
Yeah, those are the ones I always like, episodes like that where I'm like, I just know that they had fun doing that. That was just a fun scene to film. Yeah. Were you watching it when it like first started airing?
I think I got on a little bit afterwards, but not super late, like where I could just like binge everything.
That was
me.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I started
maybe.
What are we in? November? I think August. Somewhere around there, I started watching it.
It's a beautiful show.
He's
a great guy. He's very talented, man. Singing his ass off. When the first time I heard Redbone, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was in the car with Duty and RJ, and they was playing something, and I was like, damn, bro. I was like, I can't, but like, this is such great music. Like, I was like, who is this? And they were like, you don't know who this is? And I was like, nah. They were like, who do you think it is? And I was like, I was trying to listen to it. I was like, I don't even know this old ass nigga. Like, who is this? Like, who even is this person? Like, it ain't fucking Marvin Gaye. It ain't Stevie Wonder. It ain't like, I was like, who is this? And they were like, that's hilarious. I was like, we just gonna let you listen to it and then we'll tell you who it is at the end. And I'm listening to it, and this whole time I think it's someone that made a song back in the fucking 80s or something like that.
Not at all.
And then they're like, yeah, it's fucking Childish Gambino. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Was he still... Oh, so you did know of him. I mean, you...
Just him as a person?
Well, I mean,
before the show?
Them telling you Childish Gambino, so you knew of the name.
I knew that he was a man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't watching Atlanta, but I knew. But he had done plenty of other stuff. I wasn't even actually a fan of his other show. Was that one? Community. I wasn't even.
Really?
But I knew that he was on that. I knew that I think he had done. He has like at least one stand-up special. I used to see some of his freestyles on like Sway in the Morning. I know that he has like a famous freestyle on Sway in the Morning. So I would like see him around. Like I knew he was a guy that did a bunch of things, but. I didn't know.
Was he still under Childish Gambino with Redbone? Or is that when he had switched to Glover?
That's...
Because
I think that was Childish Gambino.
He was Childish Gambino, and then he decided to go by Donald Glover.
Oh. Yeah, that's nice. I would go by my name if I ever did anything. I did. Or line hooks.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not going to be like... You're like, what am I even gonna come up with? Like, who the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I wonder, like, how did you come up with like Lil Baby?
Yeah,
21 Savage.
Who am I going? Well, Lil Baby's story is very interesting.
Is it?
He has a very, very interesting documentary on Hulu, I believe it is. It's either Hulu or Amazon, but just look it up. It's Amazon, actually. He was the man before he started rapping.
Yeah?
Yeah, he didn't even have to really start rapping. I mean, he should have, because he probably would have got killed or ended up in jail at some point in time. But he was selling wild weight down there in Atlanta. And he knew Young Thug, and Young Thug knew him and all sort of stuff. And Young Thug would just give him money to just try to get him off the street. Just like, bro, like, how much money would you make today selling or whatever? He's just like, 20 grand. He was like, here, take 20 grand, go home. Like, that's how Young Thug's talking too, like nonchalantly too.
Right.
Like, here, take this 20
just
grand, like go home, bro. Like, get off the street. Like,
$100
yeah, like, you're right, exactly. And so he was living the rap lifestyle. He was in the clubs. Like, everyone knew him. He was super popular all throughout Atlanta. Like, he grew up out the mud. He had nothing. They had videos. He grew up in the hood of hoods where almost people were just dying every day. It was the hood of hoods. Terrible, terrible place. And he made it up out of that. And it's just very, very wild to look at. So I forget if that was even in there, like where Lil Baby came from. It maybe slipped in my mind if it was. I don't know where that came from. But it was very, very interesting. Like, just stardom for him. The way that just skyrocketed. Yeah, he just started rapping, and it wasn't really that great at first. And then he just like found his flow and like his little thing that he does, and it just popped. And he got out there. But he was in them streets though.
Yeah, I mean, the stories behind their stories are always interesting.
Which is rappers?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm always curious to, hear, like, I had no idea. It's interesting to hear their background. It's how they come up with their names. Some of these names are just...
Yeah, they're usually just, like some street shit. I didn't know. Damn, they definitely did talk about how he got his name. Damn, Lil
Baby, Da Baby. There's just too many babies out here.
I don't really think that Da Baby is going to continue to have such a... I don't really got him... Lil Baby.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, because it just got old.
Okay, looking up Lil Babies.
Yeah. Okay. Lil Baby spent time with a lot of the older heads when he was younger. I remember this. When he wouldn't answer his mom's calls, she would go out and check on him. His older friends would tease him, calling him Baby, because his mom was always checking on him. That name stuck, hence Lil Baby.
Okay. That would make... I can see that one. But there are some ridiculous ones out here. Which maybe they have... Maybe it sounds ridiculous, but they have a good... Maybe it's just like a
good little backstory to it.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would just go by my name. Yeah, I don't need you to start calling me anything else. I wouldn't want to do that. I don't want a persona. Although people that did personas right, like the band The Gorillaz or Dead Mouse, Daft Punk, any of these sort of bands that have complete anonymity and they're able to do their thing and no one knows who the fuck they are. Like they'd walk past you in a store, you never know it was them.
Right.
That's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think if it's a band, if you have multiple people in it, it'd be hard. I mean, you're just going to list everyone's names. Now introducing, and then you're just going to go through everyone's name. You need like a name.
Wait, what do you mean now introducing? Who's doing the introducing?
Well, like if they're like, well, I guess they're okay. Putting aside them who they don't want their identity shown. You're saying that they have this persona and they use this different name rather than their actual name.
Yeah.
But if it's a band and you have
yeah.
4 members in the group, like. All right, let's go on tour to see.
No, it's just Aerosmith. You don't go down. It's just the Beatles.
Right.
You don't go down the whole list. No, I get it.
Yeah,
I get
a little
it.
name like that.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about? Anything that we left out? We need to really get to. This has been very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. They just fly past, man. They just fly past. So much fun.
I always have fun.
I'm so glad that you came back.
Me too. Thanks for having me back.
A whole year later.
Yep.
That's
almost.
So cool.
I think it was like the Saturday after
That's so cool.
Thanksgiving. So
yeah, that makes sense.
And hopefully can get back with Stokes. That'll be a good spicy episode.
Yeah, man, you guys are just too funny.
It's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, and then I'll probably end up just playing the mediator.
Yeah, probably. You're just gonna sit back
and just listen, see what's going on. Yeah, see what type of relationship you guys have.
Man.
For real, just see it firsthand and just sit there.
Well, I guess you've only seen
look, I know, but relationships are so interesting to me. They're so, because I think about what it is to be a friend to someone a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And you can't do, in my experience, you can't do romantic relationships the way you do your friend relationships. It's not the same. You don't have the same level of stake, right? Because you're not really building a life with your friends the way in which you would a significant other. And so when it comes to having conversations about the way that person lives life, there's a ton of things that you're just kind of going to let go. There are going to be certain non-negotiable, certain values that you're going to hold. And clearly, if this person's a psychopath, they like to just beat up on people in the street. You can't hang out with them. You don't want to be that person's friend. But if they meet most of your requirements, anything past that is that's just the way you live life. You know what I mean? That's just, as long as you're a solid person, you treat people well, you treat me well, you cool, we have enough shared interests, we'll probably end up being friends, stars align, whatever the fuck it is that makes people friends, we'll be friends. But as far as having conversation that is deep enough and could be contentious enough for a lot of really big change to happen, I don't think that's always usually acceptable ground for a lot of people in their relationships. So I don't know exactly just how deep in the dough you all get when it comes to conversation, because sometimes it's just you know what, we're gonna back away from this one, whatever, we're just gonna agree to disagree, we're just gonna walk away, as opposed to continuing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely all of the above. Mm-hmm. There are times where we do get into deep conversation. And then there's times where we butt heads and we're just you know what? We're just have to agree to disagree. It's just not aligning. It's just going to be, it is what it is. But we do have some great conversations. I think it's one of the fun things about Stokes is that we can have those good conversations, and he would take this as a perfect opportunity to throw out that there are people that say, just watching us, there's the great chemistry there, because we can have those conversations. And then he'd go off the little bullshit bit.
Yeah.
But
understood.
Yeah. But I think it'd be fun.
Good, because we're going to do it.
It'll be a good
I've
one.
already made my mind up. I mean, as soon as you guys came up with the idea, which was already a year ago at this point, I think because we talked about it last time. We were that we should do one. Yeah, so just whenever it all comes together.
Yep, he'll be off his sugar-free Red Bull and hopefully just water. Nigga, just drink your water.
Man, I said, you can't save these people, man. You just gotta let them be who they're gonna be. That's exactly what I'm talking about. There's nothing you can do. All right, this is episode 147.
That's crazy.
Yes, I know, right? I just keep doing this thing. I just keep going. Thank you, everybody. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace.